Howdy, my name is Kevin and I'm doing a little bit of a teardown on a PS Vita car adapter, and the reason I had a look at this unit was that it was being discontinued at the Walmart and I picked it up for $5. So I want to see if I can adjust it for running other USB applications. So one of the problems with this unit is that that here they've got little tabs which prevent you from putting regular USB cables in. But let's just talk about how to pull this thing apart initially. So if you pull off this label, it comes off quite easily, and just take it off very gently and you'll be able to put it back on afterwards. So I lift up a corner with a knife and then a pair of tweezers, and then just gradually took that, pulled it off slowly. Took a couple of minutes. Now you'll find that it has one of these torques, but one of these really irritating torques with the security hole in it. So I recommend you pick up one of these security units, that security bits, which has the holes in them so you can drive it. So we take it and just unscrew it, and then that came out pretty quickly. I had taken off the end ahead of time so that I could get the unit apart. So that left me with this, with the screw, but it was still pretty tight together. So I pulled it here, and it popped, and then you can see on the screw side there are these little tabs that popped off. So if you just very gently pull it apart, it pops out, and that comes off, and you're left with this unit here. And this is the actual guts of the deal. This is very nicely made, and it's got a small switching power supply in there, so that means it's efficient. That means it's not going to get very hot, as opposed to some of the cheaper other units. You'll see a lot of goop. Well, I know it's plastic rubberized compound, and that keeps the coils from moving around, so you don't have trouble with the vibration. So it comes in here through the fuse, goes through a capacitor for a little bit of energy storage, and there's a little chip in here to convert the 12 volts to the 5 volts for the output of the USB. And then these coils are part of the switching power supply, and then these output filtering capacitors. You can't really see it, but underneath there's a whole pile of surface mount resistors in there. Now I tried to measure the resistance between the D plus and the D minus data pins on here, because the way the USB is that there's power on the outside pins, and the inside pins, the two inside data pins, are usually tied with a resistor to indicate whether it's a charging port or not. And you can look that up on the Wikipedia article, and it'll tell you all about the different resistors and the different ways they tell that there's a charging port. Anyway, this is a 1.5 amp charging port, and I could not measure the resistance, mainly because I don't have a cable to go in there, but I may measure it a little bit later. And you'll look in the comments, and if you have a comment underneath the YouTube, it'll tell you a little bit about I'll tell you a little bit of what else I've discovered. But anyway, I'm going to try and measure the resistance between D plus and D minus data, and that'll tell us the charging port. Normally they're shorted according to the Wikipedia article, and that's what I expect we'll hear. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this back together. I just wanted to show you what was inside. I'm going to cut this. See if I can point with this unit. There's a little tab here, and there's another little tab here, and I'm going to cut those off, and that's going to allow me to put a regular USB cable in, and then I'll be able to use this to run my little tablet when I've got it in the car. And it's a high quality, clearly high quality car adapter. So I'm quite pleased. And once I have that, I'll be able to use it. And I see no problem putting it back together. It'll just snap right back together, and I'll put the label on. But I really want to recommend that you get one of these torque, one of these security bits, sets. I picked up this one here. That was about $8 Canadian about a year ago, and that has all the ones I've needed. You can get bigger ones, but this one has all the very peculiar, well, not all of them, but quite a few of the peculiar ones, the ones I've run into so far, and it's just nice to have. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this little teardown of the Sony PS Vita car adapter, and see if I can just zoom in on that a little bit so you can get a better look at that. And yes, it's very nicely made. That is very nicely made. All right, you have a nice day.